Hello and welcome finally to my weekly ramble. It's now Sunday afternoon and I apologise for the late appearance of this ramble, but we spent a few days in the Cotswolds and when we got back our internet, which was playing up last week, was virtually non-existent. And then I had to rush off to London to do a rehearsal yesterday, so I haven't been able to do it until today. So, as I say, many apologies, and I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed that I'll be able to upload it later. But I hope that you've had a good week. Certainly the weather has been fantastic. We were very, very lucky when we were away. Sunshine nearly all the time, which was beautiful. You sort of feel that summer has just about arrived. Sadly, there hasn't been any movement at all in terms of choirs being allowed to sing anymore, and increasing the numbers from 6, which is continuing to prove a huge frustration to so many. There are still a lot of people writing to MPs and trying to get the ruling overturned. But at the moment there's been no movement at all from the Department of Culture. Which is such a shame, and I see things like the Three Choirs Festival are considering having to cancel some of their concerts, the ones with the big choruses, which are all volunteers, because they can't really rehearse big works when you can only have a group of 6. So it's such a great shame, and obviously people are a little bit worried at the moment about the government's final easing of restrictions on the 21st of June, that might slip as well. So who knows, but we must just keep our fingers crossed that we will be able to get back to singing before too long. There is a petition which has been going around, and people who sing in choirs have been asked to sign. So I'm going to attach this to my email today, and if you fancy signing up, it doesn't make anything happen really for you personally, but if we can reach 100,000 signatures, the government then legally have to debate the whole question of people singing and increasing the numbers. So I'll attach it, and if you'd like to sign it, brilliant. If you don't want to, no pressure at all, but have a think and you just have a look. I don't know whether you caught any of the services on the radio or the TV this week. Driving to church this morning, I listened to Sunday worship, which was a recording made in the chapel of St George's, Windsor. And again, I just was blown away by some fantastic singing by the choir, boys and men. And they can't have been rehearsing together for all that long, but it was so tidy, so together. Beautiful ensemble, just how a choir should sound. I mentioned to you a couple of weeks ago about Westminster Abbey and what an exciting evensong they did, but how I thought the men were slightly let off the leash. Well, the St George's men this morning were just so tasteful, just brilliant, and the blend with the boys was magnificent. So if you get the chance to listen again, it was a sort of truncated matins, beautiful responses, and the psalm, which was sung unaccompanied, really was exemplary, how an English psalm should be sung to an Anglican chant. So if you get the chance, and I noticed that they've also recorded choral evensong for this coming week, and I would encourage you to listen to that, because if the evensong is as good as the matins was today, it'll be well worth it. And I noticed that they're singing Gerald Finzi's Magnificat. Now, I can't remember whether that's something I recommended to you before. It might have been. It's one of my favourite pieces of all time, and it's odd in that it doesn't have a Gloria. It doesn't have Gloria at all. It just finishes at the end of the Magnificat, but then it has probably the second best Amen ever written. The best has to be Lo the Full Final Sacrifice, also by Finzi, but the Amen at the end of the Magnificat, which just comes out of nowhere, is just, I think the expression is drop dead gorgeous. So if you get the chance to listen to that on Wednesday, 3:30, I think, Radio 3, to have a listen. You won't be disappointed with the standard of the choir, or indeed the choice of music. www.swanageteam.com is our regular Swanage website where all the details of services are on there. I know we've missed this Sunday now, but there's online services still continuing. And next week at St Mary's we've actually got a wedding, a real live wedding with real live people. How exciting! The scaffolding's come down and the church is looking great. So gosh, that will be interesting, I think. So anyway, look to the website if you want to find out anything about what's going on this week. Now, silly facts. Excuse me, silly facts. I've just looked up a couple of silly facts today, just to amuse you on this Sunday afternoon. Here's the first one. Did you know that both Brahms and Tchaikovsky celebrate the same birthday? And that's the 7th of May, Tchaikovsky and Brahms. And I do remember from the past, I think I'm right in saying this, that Tchaikovsky once was quoted as saying that he thought Brahms was talentless. Extraordinary. Number 2, interesting fact. Not too quirky, but interesting. And actually, when I think about this, it's probably true. Handel wrote over 40 operas. He wrote all that choral music, all that instrumental music. And they reckon that Handel composed more notes than any other composer. The thing that always gets me about classical composers of bygone years is not only do you have to think about the music, think of somebody like Haydn, not only do you have to think about the music, but then you actually physically have to write it down. Today we have these computers, but in those days they had to write all the full scores out. I mean, just extraordinary the amount of notes that were written out. But anyway, Handel is supposed to have composed more notes than anyone else. And the third fact, I was listening to some opera the other day and thinking of my favourite operas, and I think Bizet's Carmen has to be one of them. Just a wonderful and terribly popular Carmen. But I was reading something about Bizet the other day, and Carmen just wasn't successful at all when it was first written, and Bizet actually went to his death not knowing that it was a success at all. He thought it was a complete failure. He never knew, so presumably he never got any money from it either. There we go, some silly facts. So to my recommendation for this week, and I was thinking about They Are Men from Finzi's Magnificat, which just makes me all goosebumpy anyway. And then, having just been in Gloucestershire, I came back to one of my favourite composers ever, church music composers ever, which is Herbert Howells. Herbert Howells wrote all those canticle settings, all those lovely anthems. Born in Gloucestershire, in Lydney. He always wanted to be a composer. He went to the Royal College of Music and he studied with Stanford and with Wood. And I guess he's one of the last sort of English romantic composers, along with Vaughan Williams and Delius. But he had his own sort of particular stamp, his own feel, that minor third interval particularly. The canticle settings are fantastic, and I think I've told you before my favourite ever is the Howells Gloucester service. I think we've listened to that. But probably my second favourite, and one of the most popular, probably if not the most popular, is the setting he wrote for King's College, Cambridge, and he took into account that wonderful acoustic. And that has a Gloria that just is almost as wonderful as the Finzi Amen. So exciting. But the whole piece is wonderful, starting off just with the trebles, really quietly, beautiful sort of declamatory opening, quite free style. Then the full choir comes in, and then Howells reverts to the sort of opening idea at the end, and the boys just beautiful, very gentle. It's quite a tricky one in terms of counting. If you're not very good at counting, it's a tough one, because you really have to, there are lots of long phrases and long notes which you really have to think carefully about, but it is wonderful. And then the Nunc Dimittis, which I haven't included, has a lovely tenor solo as well. But Howells' Col Reg Magnificat has to be one of the great Maga Nuncs of all time. So I have pointed you to a recording. Where from? King's College, Cambridge. And I found one with the music on it as well. Interestingly, there's a bit, whoever put it together, he missed out a bit of the music. But if you can forget about that, about 2/3 of the way through the Magnificat, there's a bit of music missing, but it's all there for you. So I'm sure some of you will know it anyway, but if you don't, you will love it. So there we go. Now, I thought as it's Sunday and not Friday, we wouldn't normally have choir practice on Sunday, although we'd sing. So I'm going to be very lazy this week, and I'm not going to get you to sing at all, because you'll probably now, this mid-afternoon, and you might almost be thinking of opening the sherry now, or just at least thinking about a gin and tonic. I'm not, of course, but you might be. Anyway, so I wish you a very good week. I think there's going to be lots more sunshine this week. Stay safe and stay well, and I hope to see some of you before too long. But in the meantime, have fun and have a lovely rest of Sunday afternoon.